Welcome back to another Spirit Island video, everybody. This is the tier list for the spirits. So we're actually going to be representing them by these due to space constraints, but it's pretty sweet. So I put all the boards here so we can see them. Hopefully you see those pretty well. Got no glare. Okay, so there's a lot of these, so let's get to it. Okay, S is obviously the best, F is the worst. Okay, so Fangs is the first one. Very cool spirit. Love spirits that use beasts, that's always good. I love the Growth 2. I'm not the one who normally plays this, it's the person that I play with who often will play as Fangs. But the awesome thing about Fangs is that in general, it feels like you can, with this specific pick 2, feels like you can pretty much do whatever you want to, as long as you plan ahead enough / you get lucky enough, depending on what cards you get, to have 1 energy in case you need to reclaim. Some event cards can mess with that, but in general, that's the big thing about him. And honestly, his tracks are pretty good. He can't get a ton of energy, but the fact that you get 2 reclaims is really solid, and then this can be massive depending on who it teams up with. So I think that Fangs is awesome and that it's super well made. I would say that Fangs belongs in B tier. Super thematic, really, really cool, but not every spirit is supposed to be the best in the world, and most of them should probably land in B tier. I would say it's probably reasonable. Okay, Many Minds as 1. So these are the ones I just played most recently. That's why they're all on top. So Many Minds. I play a ton of games solo, true solo, on the app, and Many Minds is the one that I've probably played the most. I don't know the actual number of games I've played with it, but I can pretty consistently beat every adversary on level 6 with Many Minds. So having 5 card plays is huge. Or not 5 card plays, I guess eventually, but having 5 cards is huge. Getting to add 2 presents is huge. Not tons of energy, but essentially you just do this turn 1, this turn 2, reclaim, this turn 4, and then either this or just this. The next time you get to add presents. Can't remember what turn we're on at that point or whatever. But essentially, so many beasts, so much fear. If you ever get one of the events, which you should get at least... So essentially, this is the thing about Many Minds. You're going to be playing with events, and once per game, you're either going to get Beast Attack, the one that generates you tons of fear, or the one... So you're either going to get 2 damage per beast, 1 damage per beast, or 1 fear per beast. And you're probably going to have anywhere... A bad game would be like... You're going to have anywhere from like 7 to 10 beasts, possibly more, maybe even significantly more. And essentially, whenever that happens, it's like you just randomly get to threshold a major power and wipe out a ton of stuff. Just from some random event that comes, which there's so many of in the deck that you can almost guarantee it's going to come eventually. So, Many Minds, I would put an S tier. He's just the only spirit that you can have literally just like 4 problems in completely different lands, in completely different corners of the map, and then you can, by the end of the turn, you can solve each of those problems. And in the process, still get a ton of fear and theoretically be able to counterattack and kill some things as well. So, super, super, super good. Alright, Shadows Flicker Like Flame. This is probably the worst spirit in the game. I feel like everybody kind of agrees on this. Essentially, the problem is that it starts with 0, look at this, 0 energy and 1 card play. That is so pathetic. And then even if you were to start here at 2 card plays and 1 energy, that's where most spirits would start. And then it gets better if you can ever get to the 3/3, but that's going to take you so many turns to even get there. And there's, I think, 5 or 6 aspects for this spirit, which helps it improve significantly, but it greatly needs that help. This one's going to go F tier. Yeah. so many problems, one of which is that this is horrible. I actually am a pretty big fan of this. I think that this is really cool, and I think that a lot of its cards are pretty solid. It's just that it's essentially it's broken because of this and these and this. It's not the cards, it's not the innate, in my opinion. Okay, Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares. My favorite aspect, probably violence is awesome, is essentially what I'm trying to say with this spirit. Probably gonna get canceled for saying violence is awesome. But this spirit, I don't consider that good without violence. You can still win with it, but some people I know love Spirits May Yet Dream. I hate it. I don't like to know what's coming. I like the surprise, I guess. And often, at least in a one-player game, you can't do much to prepare for what's coming anyways. It happens, and often I feel like if you plan for something that you know is theoretically going to happen eventually, maybe the event card is going to make it so that it messes that up. So I'm not a fan of this. Like this, tracks are pretty bad, but this one's good at playing majors, and you just hope you do really well before you lose. I would say, honestly, that base Bringer is probably C tier, which is very sad because I love Bringer. But okay, Lightning's Swift Strike. This is one of the base spirits. Awesome because it can add tons of presence really quickly, and then it has this thundering destruction ability that can just destroy a bunch of stuff. Also, it can play pretty much everything it has fast. It's literally can have 6 card plays on turn 2 and then just reclaim. The problem is that it runs out of energy very, very quickly. Its cards are way too expensive. I guess those are the problems with it. But it's still very, very good, and it has a decently good set of cards. The one that lets somebody do 2 things fast is very good, especially if you get to the right spot in the game. But I would say that base Lightning is probably B tier as well. If it combos, it can absolutely get up to A or S, but it would need to be comboed with somebody. Okay, Ocean. Super, super cool. Can bring things into the ocean, drown them, and then gets energy based on the number of players, depending on the hit points, blah, blah, blah. Gets some fear, can drown things in the coast. The problem with this one is it needs to be in specific lands. The ocean does count as the coast, but anything that's in the ocean would already be drowned anyways. So, and if you reclaim, all your presence comes from it's like the tide coming in or going out, blah, blah, blah. That's essentially represented by these 2 different things right here. So the crazy thing about this one is if you were playing a 6-player game, or even if you're playing a 5-player game, you can get presence on every single board in the first 2 turns. Then anything pushed in the ocean just gets drowned, which is amazing. And honestly, I really enjoy playing this spirit. Typically what you would do is you would go this turn 1, you do growth 2, and then turn 2, you do growth 3, then you got to reclaim. And then from there, if you have anything that can increase your range, you would probably do this and then just stick with that for the rest of the game. Go with 5 card plays and the reclaim. But if you don't have that, you might need to pick this and essentially just keep switching back and forth until you get to 5 card plays. And then I guess just go from there. So, very cool spirit. I am actually, it feels crazy to me that I'm going to do this, but I think I'm going to put this, it actually feels crazy to me that I'm doing this, but I think I'm going to put it in A tier. There's problems and things that it can't solve, but the things that it does well, it does so well. And this is one spirit that is actually worse in solo games and significantly better in big games. In my opinion, except that you have less energy, but often in single player games, you have way more energy than you need. So yep, I believe A tier is correct. Okay, River Surges in Sunlight. This is definitely one of the best spirits in the game, in my opinion. Really good at building other spirits up, and just has the easiest growth in the world. You just go this turn 1, this turn 2, reclaim one of your cards. The slow Dahan gathering, creating one. And then you do this turn 3. And then what I always do is turn 4, I just go with this. And then go from there. Yeah, then you can kind of just reclaim loop the entire game, push things into a bunch of different lands, and then, or push things into one land and then destroy them. The problem is it struggles with cities, but there's ways to get around that, and you're gonna hope that you get a minor power, because it can't really afford major powers that can do some 1 or 2 damage, which can help you kill the cities. But I would say that this one belongs in A tier. This one is significantly worse in one player because its best card gives it 1 energy, and other people, however many energy as cards they've played this turn. So it's significantly better in bigger than 1 player games, and also if you're playing bigger than 1 player games, somebody else is going to be able to play majors because of the energy you're giving them, and they can help you kill your cities, and you can just move everything around. So it is worth mentioning, though, that this is one of the first innates that has the word instead. I don't love the ones that have instead, but I understand why they're there. It's funny, often I feel like I would actually rather do the 2nd tier than the 3rd tier. Or at least it's nice to be able to, it's really great to be able to push people out, especially into the ocean or into other places. But this is good. This is certainly good. I just often would rather do this one for whatever reason. Maybe I just play him with ocean a lot. Okay, Thunder Speaker. This is the one that uses Dahan. It's a base game spirit. When I started playing the game, I thought that this was the best spirit in the game. I did not know what I was talking about. I believe that its cards are significantly too expensive. I love how it has the reclaim where it gets 2 cards. I think that's so cool. And I love this ability as well. So essentially the dream would be to go this turn 1, this turn 2, get a reclaim, so you can play all your cards. But the problem is, my memory is that he has 1 card that costs 3, so it's not even possible to play that card. And then it has another card that costs 2, another one that costs 1. So that's 6 energy, and if you were to do the strategy I just spoke of, you would only have 2 energy. So even if you play with Aspect and get rid of that more expensive card, you're still struggling to do the stuff that you're hoping to. So I think this person can get improved by at least that 1 aspect, but in general, I would say Thunder Speaker. I'm going to be so bold as to say it. I would actually say Thunder Speaker is probably F. It's rough, but this is really good. It just takes too long to do anything with Thunder Speaker. This I really don't love. Even, I don't know. I just don't feel like it does enough for what you're actually trying to do. And your presence can get destroyed sometimes. If you get hit with events with this one, which I think also when the game came out didn't have events immediately, if I'm remembering correctly, the events wouldn't kill your Dahan. But now when the Dahan get killed by events, this spirit becomes even worse. Also, this spirit can't add any Dahan as far as I remember, but this one can. So the one that uses so many Dahan can't even create them, whereas the river one can. Alright. Wandering Voice, Keen's Delirium. This is an awesome spirit that pushes presence, and when it pushes its Incarna. When it pushes its Incarna, it adds Strife. When it adds Strife to an Explorer town, it pushes them. So it does a lot of things that are similar to Dreams and Nightmares, where it's going to get you a decent amount of fear, and it's going to move a lot of stuff around. This one has a few really good growth options. Like I think you would normally do this turn 1, this turn 2. It has some dead weight cards, but essentially if you can ever get to 4 card plays, this just becomes amazing. So if you get any help from anybody else, it's great. I also just teamed this up with the Create Your Own Spirit, essentially, recently, Starlight. And it worked really, really well because the one card was able to make Starlight forget cards in its discard pile, which it was never going to reclaim anyways, and then gain a different card. So, just worked out well. Kind of creative. So I would say that this one, I don't think that it breaks the game and is therefore an S tier. I think it is an A tier, I would say. Super, super solid. If you get any help at all, this spirit is just phenomenal. Okay, Starlight. I know that people say that this spirit is awesome. It is very complicated. There's ways that you can make it pretty straightforward. The typical growth would be to add presence. This one's just really complicated. I'm going to assume you have some people have knowledge already. You would add presence from here, so you can do this in addition. And then typically the hope would be to add this presence, add this presence, add this presence. Somewhere along there, get a major power. Stop some bad things from happening on turn 2 or 3. And you're essentially just forgetting a bunch of your cards. And then you're kind of like setting up for a big turn. You have all these abilities over here. So when I played this one recently, it was actually very, very solid. Teamed up with this one. But I don't know. I don't feel like it always does exactly what I want it to do. But I'm sure that the better you are at the game, the better this spirit is. It's just I don't always feel like you can plan tons of turns ahead. Sometimes I feel like you need to do something that's going to win you the game or that's going to save you right now rather than in the future. So with that in mind, I'm actually going to put Starlight. I think I'm going to put it in B tier. I think that's reasonable. Sorry to anybody who disagrees. Okay, Breath of Darkness down your spine. This is actually the spirit that I've used probably second to least. And the last time I used it was actually decently good, and I learned it doesn't happen to be this card. Yeah, I learned that you want to abduct other people's presence because when you do that, you can make their presence escape instead of the invaders, so then you can keep more. When I played the spirit, it got so much fear. It was crazy how much fear it was generating. And it's also funny that these are the same symbols that he uses, if I recall correctly. Yeah, they definitely are. I think that this one has such high potential. I feel like it absolutely could be an A. I don't know if it could belong in S, but we're going to put it in B just because I haven't played it a ton due to the very complicated nature of it. But from the little that I have, I've learned a lot of lessons, and I know that it's a lot better than I initially thought it was. So that's what we're going to say. All right, Spread of Rampant Green. This one is very solid. Essentially, it literally has proliferation, which lets other people add their presence. It can always add some of its presence. It can sometimes add 2 presence. I believe it's the only spirit in the game that can do that, if I remember correctly. And essentially, it can remove its presence to stop places from either, I think it's building or ravaging. Yeah. It honestly doesn't have great tracks, but that's okay. It adds so much presence that it doesn't necessarily matter. This isn't super solid. This isn't super solid. But this spirit is just so good due to what it can do for other spirits and the fact that it can just stop so many things. Like, its abilities are in its presence. No other spirit has that other than this one, which is S tier. So I think Rampant Green is going to go in A. As I discussed in my other video, if you use the one where you get to add another spirit's destroyed presence, essentially, If you use that aspect, I believe it comes to S. But for now, I believe it's there. Okay. Serpent slumbering beneath the island. This is the spirit that I've used the least. Is it good? Yes. Is it complicated? Yes. Do I like it? I don't even know that I would say that I like it that much. It seems to take so long for you to do anything, and it has elemental Aegis or whatever, so it has ways of stopping you from losing the game, which is great. But I probably just need to play this one more. I'm not going to put it in F, but I will put it in C. I know that it's really, really strong. It feels like you delay stuff so long, and there's so many spirits, or there's so many adversaries that just kill you if you delay too long. Right, like you're not always playing England into that one, and even if you were, there's a good chance you'd lose because they'd build too many cities. All right, Towering Roots of the Jungle. Okay, this is the main Vitality spirit, if I'm remembering correctly, and you have an Incarna with this spirit as well. You can gather a bunch of stuff into one land, and then you can remove a bunch of stuff from your Incarna. And I really think that this spirit is super cool. If I'm remembering correctly, if I'm remembering correctly, I believe every single one of its cards has 4 elements, which is just crazy. Because most cards will only have 3, and some will have 2, and horrible ones will have 1. So I would say that Roots would be B tier as well. I think that it's very solid, but often I really feel like if you do the second growth option, it just doesn't. It's just worse than this one. I feel like adding Vitality. Vitality is really helpful, but I just don't feel like you can do it efficiently. Maybe I just haven't played it enough to learn, but I do feel like this is a very solid spirit. Yeah, big fan. Okay, Vengeance as a Burning Plague. This is the one that uses so many disease, treats Blight as Badlands. It can essentially let people build even though there's disease and get fear when they do so, which can be helpful. The last game I played with this guy was very, very, very hectic. It wasn't a game where we were, but I guess that's just who this spirit is. It wasn't a game where we were like actively winning. The spirit's cards are way too expensive, and its tracks are bad. I like this. This is kind of cool, but its tracks are bad. Its cards are too expensive. This isn't super strong. This isn't super strong. It's really limited in everything that it does. I can't put it in F, but I do believe Vengeance belongs in C tier. Okay, Grinning Trickster stirs up trouble. Trickster is just a really good spirit. Yeah. Yep. I just think it's a really good spirit. So you have the pick 2 again, and the pick 2 is just so good. Like, even when I play the spirit, after one of your powers adds strife in a land, you may pay 1 energy to add 1 strife within 1 of that land. So often I don't even end up doing that until maybe later in the game. But that's just a whole nother ability that I could be maximizing, but I always just go hardcore card plays. I love that just a bunch of random stuff can happen. If you get these things, essentially this spirit just has so much potential to address problems really, really quickly, but haphazardly. It's not going to address everything. You will get some blight. Bad things will happen, but good things will happen too. So because of that, I think Trickster I don't know if I can say that it's A tier. Um, I think we might still have to go with B tier though. I do think B tier is correct. Yeah. Oh, that's tough. This is the closest to A tier, and this is the closest to B tier, I would say. Downpour drenches the world. This is a spirit that I do not like. I don't really know how to use it. I know that it has some really good cards, but I also know that those cards... It's just, this spirit just doesn't make sense to me. I'm someone who, if I can add 2 presents, I pretty much always want to do that. But this is so expensive to add 2 presents. Discard 2 power cards. It's just horrible. So the game that I played with this one recently, it took forever. We did almost nothing. I love counterattack. This one doesn't let you counterattack. I know that certain people have used this recently and had a ton of success in the 6-6 matchups. But that's not me. So I'm actually going to say that Downpour, I know it might sound crazy, but I'm actually going to put that all the way in F, which I know is crazy. But I've just never had any success with it. And I love this ability. I think it's super cool. But maybe I'll just need to play some more games with this. And instead of going a bunch of top track, I need to go a lot more bottom track. Let's see. Okay, Fractured Days, Split the Sky. Fractured is the only spirit that uses time. Time is a really weird concept, essentially, and you also get your Days That Never Were, which is a certain number of major and minor power cards. And so, like, essentially, if I'm going to play this spirit, I want to set up for the game, like, and give myself, like, 30 minutes to come up with some sort of plan. Or at least take a little bit of time to figure out what the move is, because the amount of options that this guy has are just crazy. Like, you would never actually probably do this, but you could have 9 card plays in a turn, if I'm doing that math correctly. Or no, just 2. So it'd be 7 card plays in a turn, which will probably never happen. But when I played him recently, I was able to threshold a major on maybe turn 3. And then after that, I think I was able to threshold it. I was able to threshold a major every turn after that, I believe. So super, super powerful if you know what you're doing. Yeah, just complicated. I think he goes to A. I know that some people would put him in S, and I think they're totally right, but I feel like a lot of the stuff would be letting people proliferate more or use the best card at the table more through this. And there's a lot to that. But man, it seems complicated. And I don't really like building teams all around proliferate. But yeah, teach their own. Whatever people want to do. Even though I love the card and it's an awesome card. So, okay, Lure of the Deep Wilderness. This is actually a spirit that I just love. I love the idea. I love the diversity in the growth track that you get to pick one of these and then one of these. So often I'll do this, turn 1, get to this, play 2 slow cards, and then suck a bunch of stuff into one room or into one land. And after that, I typically do this one, I believe. Or maybe I do that one. We'll have to see. But then I feel like the problem with this guy is that he struggles. Obviously, he struggles in the coast because he can't do as much in the coast. So he does really well on boards that are adjacent to all. That there is a land adjacent to all 3 coasts. He does much better on those ones. But I feel like this guy's also better when he gets his aspect. I feel like this ability right here, for each of your presence in a land, ignore 2 explorers during Ravage step. That's really not very effective against most people, and then super effective against other people. Which I guess makes me think it's pretty mid. I think we're going to go ahead and make this B as well. Might just move these down here for just a little bit. Hopefully we got plenty of room. All right. Next up, we got Shifting Memory of Ages. Memory, I think, is really cool. I think that you can essentially go the card play route, which I don't see people do very often. Normally what I see in our games is somebody gets to 2 card plays and then they just go straight energy from there, which I think is the right call. It's very expensive to go about it that way. And this guy is awesome at playing major powers, awesome at thresholding those major powers. Very complicated, but gives you a lot of options. I would say this spirit is not actually one that I want to play a ton base, but it doesn't mean it's bad. I think that it belongs in B. I enjoy it when other people at the table play it, just not as much myself. But it is strong. Okay, Stone's Unyielding Defiance. Stone is an interesting one. The fact that it can... Okay, if you play this really well, this is immensely good. You essentially just always go the top track, because you're going to end up with 6 energy per turn, 4 card plays per turn, and you get to gain 3 minor powers as you do that. This spirit's just crazy. If you really know what you're doing, this spirit is awesome. And I think that that's what we're assuming. Even when it reclaims, it gets 2 earth, which is massively helpful for it. And it gets to add presence. So eventually you just end up with so much stone that you're totally fine. You do damage back to invaders when they ravage, and you can essentially make it so the blight pool is theoretically unlimited. Or, I guess, limited to a point. I would say that Stone is actually S tier. I would say that Stone is actually S tier. Yep. It's a tough one to perfect, I believe, and it doesn't exactly work against everybody, but I do believe that there's ways to make it work against everyone if you know what you're doing. All right. Finder of Paths Unseen. This is the other bird spirit, and it doesn't want to destroy anything, and it's punished if it does. But it has insane movement. It can make 2 of its lands adjacent for both its actions and other people's actions. So essentially, if you had a presence here and here, someone could push something from here to here. That's my understanding. I believe that's how it works. And you start out just as bad as this spirit with 0-1, but you can build and you can go through your presence tracks in such weird ways. And you start off with 6 cards. You're really good at moving things around. So I think Finder is A tier as well. I think it's hard to argue that it could be better because it can't kill many things, at least without paying paying for it. But it's certainly not your run-of-the-mill spirit. Yeah, just super good. So many options. And if you really know, I think this is another very high. Yeah, this is like the highest high complexity. But it's just so good. Okay. I think this is the first one we have from Horizons. Fathomless Mud of the Swamp. This one, I actually really like, kind of. It's a little bit complicated. Because you essentially want to be adding a ton of presence to make it so that whenever they build explorers instead of towns or cities in your spirit sites. But this person doesn't do much damage, which makes sense because there's should be lower level stuff there. But the problem is if you ever get to a spot that there's like an issue, it's really hard to solve the issue because even if you threshold this only does 4 damage, which is nothing. So I do like this spirit a lot, but I feel like this one would just be in B tier. Alright, Sunbright Whirlwind. There's another one from Horizons. After you add presence to a land, you can push a Dahan or explore from that land, which is such a good ability. It's just an amazing ability. Because that essentially, it's bad against England, but essentially everybody else, you can cut off one of the 2 places they explore into from the very beginning of the game. I guess it's not quite as good as against Prussia too, but I can't say this is A because it's so specific, but it's a solid B, I guess. And you really don't want to be reclaiming a lot because you want to be maximizing this ability, at least from my understanding, unless you can finally threshold this. So if you get to 4 card plays, or maybe even 5. Okay, Wounded Waters Bleeding. This is a spirit that I myself haven't played a ton, but the group I play with has. Essentially, it's like the weakest spirit, theoretically, at the beginning of the game, and then it develops into something else throughout the rest of the game. I definitely can't say that it's C, because I know that it has a ton of potential when you get these things, but it's pretty basic at the beginning. I would say that this belongs in B as well. Hope you can see that there. Yeah, we're gonna hope you can see that there. Okay, Relentless Gaze of the Sun. I know that many people think that this spirit is really, really good. They might be right, but I haven't been able to make it really, really good. I know what you're theoretically trying to do, but its tracks on the bottom are so bad, and its tracks on the bottom or on the top are so good, but it takes forever to get to any card plays. You can repeat things, but sometimes it's just not it's not worth repeating the things that you have. So unless I feel like you can team up with other people pretty well, theoretically. And I was able to do some big shenanigans with destroying my presence through some major, getting a bunch of minor cards, and then next turn I would just do it all over again. And I'd get tons of card plays and threshold a bunch of stuff through that. So this guy is certainly open to some shenanigans, but honestly, I know it might sound crazy, but I think I gotta put him in C tier. He's just one that I always, whenever we're playing games with him, I always feel like we struggle. Maybe that's my own fault. Okay, Vital Strength of the Earth. So much energy, so few card plays, consistent growth. But his cards altogether cost 10, which is just insanity. So he needs to gain other cards very, very badly. But he's actually going to go in F. He just doesn't cut it. There's nothing about him that's awesome, especially in base. All right, Keeper of Forbidden Wilds. Keeper is one of my favorite spirits. It's very easy. Turn 1 to do these 2. Turn 2 to do these 2. Turn 3 to do them again. And then just have 4 energy and 3 card plays. And then from there, even if you just do these for like the rest of the game, you've already gained 3 cards if I'm counting correctly. And that should be enough for you to be able to do just like a bunch of big stuff every turn. His games are so crazy. It's so often that I will have this ability and I can't even maximize it because there's not even enough people in my lands to kill, which is just ridiculous to me. He also adds wilds that are so good against so many of the adversaries, and just pocketing in general, which is kind of what this guy's trying to do. He can also remove Blight, which can help keep you in the game, but he can only do it from certain lands. So sometimes the setup is a little bit subjective. And And he requires some planning, but I do think he's so good. Man, does he belong? I guess we'll put him in A tier. I feel like maybe he belongs in S, but we'll do that for now. Okay, Devouring Teeth Lurk Underfoot. This one is not great. I think I'm just going to put this one in C tier. It's usable. It's not awesome. It can work well with other spirits though. So we'll give it that. Yeah. I don't love this one. This is definitely my least favorite one from Horizons. Okay, I was so pumped for this when it came out. Hearth Vigil. I thought this was just going to be by far the best spirit in the game. And I don't know if it is. I know that it can do a lot of stuff, and it can, because I'm not being super specific, I think that you really need to control how many Dahan you get into one land. Once you get a ton of Dahan in one land, I feel like that actually hurts you. I think you want to be spread out to a bunch of different places that have 2 Dahan, and then you make them almost unkillable. And also, if you play a big game with this spirit, the event cards and blight cards can't do damage in your lands, so that can mitigate just a ton of the negatives of the event cards. Man, this is a good question. I don't think this is B. I don't know that this is S, so I think that this is A. We're going to put this in A tier. I think it's super, super good, and you can do a ton with it. Okay. Heart of the Wildfire. This is a tough spirit. I don't love how this works. I do love that you can do damage when you add things, but I don't love that you have to add blight sometimes. But the spirit can do so much damage, but its cards aren't great either. I think I might have to make the sacrifice and say that this one is all the way down in C. It just takes a long time to do anything worth doing, I guess. This feels pretty wasted often, and this is pretty good. And this is very good, I would say. All right. Ember-Eyed Behemoth. Okay, so Ember-Eyed Behemoth is kind of like famous for being... Yeah. You have an Incarna. If empowered, you may repeat this once each turn. So, I remember that... So, obviously, these are just made for different games. So, they are what they are, whatever. But this spirit works completely different than this one. But it can do 4 damage if it maxes out its innate. This one can do 6 damage if it maxes out its innate. Get a little bit of fear, which I guess just gets some fear. And then if it's empowered, which it's always going to be empowered if you're ever going to threshold this turns into 12 damage. And you can theoretically push it, so it can be into 2 different lands. So it'd be 6 and 6, which is just ridiculous. Plus you can add 2 presence, so it's absolutely possible that you could threshold this by the end of the game. And this is actually decently solid, and this is very good. Ember-Eyed Behemoth is certainly A. I don't know if it's S. It does have one of the cards that I consider the best in the game, which is the one where 2 people get to add wilds to their lands, or you and someone else, essentially. I guess it starts at 0 energy. If it started at 1 energy, I think that it would be... Man, yeah, Spirit's just good. I think that this goes in A. If I have to think this hard, it's not in S. Yeah. Okay, Shroud of Silent Mist. This is the one that wants to do just a bunch of damage to people but not kill them. Gets fear for all the ones that are damaged but not killed. Could theoretically get energy from them. The mist, shift, and flow, there's an aspect that changes that, but I actually kind of prefer this one. Or maybe the other one's better, but I feel like this actually lets you do some crazy stuff. But unfortunately, I feel like mist is F. It's just in a big game, this isn't going to get you enough fear to matter. In a small game, you're still not going to be winning even if you maximize this. So you can pull it off. It's just not very easy, or honestly even very fun. Okay, Rising Heat of Stone and Sand. I think we only got a couple left. So this one is really cool. At your spirit site, invaders have -1 health, which is really, really cool. And I don't remember how good this one's cards are. But I really love that it can add presence so far away. Essentially, it lets you get to other places that are really important, and then you can do a bunch of stuff there. And its reclaim is very solid as well. So honestly, I would be tempted the first 2 turns to go double presence, then reclaim for a while, and then eventually get to this, or just get here with this. But I haven't played this guy in a while, or in just a little bit, so I don't remember exactly. I do think he belongs in B, though. I guess we'll start piling them on like that. Okay, Volcano Looming High. This one is also just so cool. What I consider super thematic. I think this guy has so many options, and the more you play him, the better you get. Where? Essentially, the question is always, do you have the massive eruption or the small eruption? I think that doing a bunch of small eruptions is really good, especially if there's people in your lands, which I know sometimes it's hard to get people in your lands, considering you have cards like this that push people but not into your lands. So either you need to get lucky by just having them happen to be with you, or you need to this spirit's also slightly confusing because this can be increased, but this can't be increased. So it's a little bit confusing as well. Even though I think he's really good, I feel like unless you team up with somebody, you don't maximize his eruptions. So because of that, I think he's only B, even though he is solid, and I'm a big fan. But look at that insane reclaim. Crazy. 3 energy, card gain, and you get all your cards or whatever. So it's going to take a little bit to get big, but once he gets big, he's very good. Okay, Dances Up Earthquakes. This is one that is very complicated, and I mentioned before that that this was very complicated, and that was theoretically a bad thing, and that this was very complicated and it's theoretically a bad thing. I think this one's really complicated, but it's complicated in the way that you should be happy. To play it, essentially. You're happy to try to solve all of the problems. The last time I played him, I messed him up. I now know that the card that I forgot was maybe the best card that he has, and that was the card I was supposed to be playing most of the turns while I was impending cards. But then once he finally got to his turn 4 thing, he was very solid. I believe it's turn 4 is when he goes off. So essentially, if you can not lose the game, then you will do very, very well or win the game. Slow phase 2. Or sorry, turn on the slow phase of turn 4. Sorry. So I know it might seem crazy, but I'm going to put him in S tier. Because if you can get there, you give somebody, I can't remember if does it happen to be this card? Yeah, okay, here we go. So you'll be giving 6 energy to somebody on turn 4, and now that pays them back for having to make you guys not lose for the last few turns. So I think he's S tier. I know for someone who I haven't played a ton, it's crazy that he's S tier, but once he comes onto the app, I'll play a lot more games with him. Be a lot easier. Okay, Eyes Watch from the Trees. This is considered largely the coolest one from Horizons, which I think I agree with, from what I remember right now at least. And I really like this one. Essentially, whenever you defend, you get to gather Dahan into that land, which is just amazing for counterattack. This is essentially like a simpler version of this, and I said this one was S tier, so that would definitely make you think it's going to be pretty high. Yeah, literally, it's kind of like tons of fear and defend. I can't remember how expensive this person's cards are off the top of my head, but I do think that this one is going to fall into A tier. So that's what we got. Do we need to make any changes? I don't think so. Maybe I was a little bit cruel to some of these ones, but I do think that they deserve to be down here. This one probably doesn't. It's probably my own fault, but I think that's what we got for now. These ones are all amazing. These ones are all really good, and it changes slightly when you get the aspects. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody.